it doesn't have to just be about branding and response, even in promotional marketing.
Okay.
It is also market research. It's information that you can utilize.
It's hard to get all those people synced up in a room together.
So the right time is now.
Hello and welcome back to the Digivid Bio channel. I'm Melissa Baker and we are live and in person with one of our founding partners and our media director, Sean Bollinger. So tell me a little bit about you, Sean. Let's give the audience some background on what brings you here today.
Sure. So first of all, thanks for having me. It's a little surreal sitting here right now because I'm usually on the other side of the camera, and that's where I feel way more comfortable. So it is a little bit nerve-wracking, I guess, to be sitting on this side of it. But thanks for having me. Hopefully, I mean, my main goal is to make sure that we can share some insights of our experience of working with marketers for several years, and specifically in the conference marketing space, because we know conferences are so important to most of the business that we work with in this space. But yeah, I mean, I don't usually like to talk too much about myself, but it is fun to say that, I've been in marketing for a few years, and I started back in the day when Google was just, doing paid search. That was the thing, and became certified in that. And then Facebook was trying to figure out how to monetize. So if that dates me a little bit, that's how far back it goes. But it's really fun to see that evolution and see where we now have been able to arrive, and specifically being able to, I guess, make good on what we always wanted in the digital space, which is tracking even to ROI and doing so targeted marketing, very, very targeted marketing. It used to be, more mass media marketing before digital, and then we got more specific because we could get behavior and interest, and now we can be like almost down to the person. And so anyway, I
mean, as medicine's getting more personalized, so is the marketing strategy.
That's true. Yeah, absolutely. And we're getting even more personalized in not just the targeting, but even in the messaging that we're able to utilize with, the likes of AI and so forth. It gets us a lot of opportunity for continued growth, and it's kind of an exciting time, honestly.
Yeah, fantastic. So just to kind of frame things up for the audience, today we're here to talk about a real deep dive into conference marketing. Specifically, we're going to be talking through the skill sets that Sean and I specialize in, which is both on the digital strategy, which is your pre and post event, process as well. And I'll be talking a little bit about video content, and Sean, also humble, doesn't like talking about himself, has been a producer on the ground floor in the showroom many, many times, and knows a great deal about video production as well, and how that either integrates and enhances your digital strategy, or how those two things kind of work independently from each other, and where are the best places to utilize them. So our goal today for our HCP marketers out there is to help them figure out, what's the best timeline to start strategizing for my event, when should I be leveraging which tools, and how do I be more effective in post-event, building out those contact lists, and then actually converting some of these new leads that you've collected through these sources. So I'm looking forward to diving into it.
Good. Great.
Okay, great.
Glad to do it.
Going to start with some questions.
Okay. All right. Shoot my way. We'll see how I do.
Let me read it, and then I'll frame it up.
See if I can do it on the fly.
Do it on the
I can do it.
So I think that timeline is really relevant, and we see it all the time where, we get a call maybe like a couple weeks before the event's happening, and someone wants to start or run a campaign, or they want to, bring out someone for video. And unfortunately, at that point, it might just be too late, and you aren't able to accommodate what they need. So, Sean, tell me a little bit about, from the digital perspective, how do you determine the right timeline for an individual project, especially when it pertains to a conference?
Sure. So the right time is now. I mean, as soon as you're starting to think about and know that you want to be somewhat, even if you're not planning to be at a conference, but participate in some way, and know that your audience is maybe going to be at a conference, start talking about it. So at the core, that's what we do. We help strategize, right? So from a digital standpoint, from a video standpoint, we can help on the execution, but to make really good execution, you've got to have some good planning. And
Right.
planning starts ahead of time. So I'll just put that out there, first of all. As far as timing, it does kind of depend on the kinds of things that you want to do, but that's why you start early, right?
Sure.
Because you can do ahead of the conference, you can kind of prime the pump, if you will, for people that might be attending the conference. And for that audience, you raise that awareness so that they know that they need to come talk to you, or know why they should come talk to you, or why
Yeah.
they should attend maybe your presentation that you have. And so honestly, for me, it actually starts way before that, where you've kind of got a slow drip going with your campaign. So you've got your social media running, you've got maybe some paid display advertising running to help with the product
Sure.
awareness and the branding. And then you can boost it around these conference or tentpole moments to raise that awareness.
Is there a too soon? Is there like a,
No.
you know what I mean? Is there a point where you're
I
like,
mean,
okay, maybe it's a little early to start, getting people ready for this event?
so I think in this space, the interesting thing is that sometimes you don't know
Right.
what is going to be approved, right? Like you're waiting for that medical, it may be MLR approval, it may be FDA clearance, like some of those kinds of things. So sometimes you just don't know. And we've definitely had the instances where you're kind of planning on it,
Yeah.
but it may or may not come. So you,
Right.
as far as like how soon, like a run up to a conference, usually we run about 30 to 45 days ahead of a
Okay.
conference. That's usually close enough that people are starting to think about it. They're starting to make their travel plans. And so, it's
So
starting to be
just to
part of that.
clarify, so 30
Mhm.
to 45 days you're saying is like when we're running a digital campaign leading up to the conference,
Mhm.
that's when you want to be launching, or is
Yes.
that
Oh,
okay?
that's
I was
true.
going to say.
That's true. So that's launch, right? Like
Yeah.
that's get in front of them. Good point.
Yeah.
So ahead of that, you need to define. So we start with audience. Who's your
Sure.
audience? And if you haven't already like put that together in a digital sense,
Yeah.
hopefully you have. But if you haven't, that takes a little bit of time to figure out how to define that and align. If you're building an MPI audience that you're wanting to target, what are the criteria for that list, right? If you already have one, that's maybe your customers or prospects or centers of excellence that you're wanting to target, those are great places to start. But there's other ways that we can do it, anywhere from specialty, which is kind of more
Yeah.
general, to billing and procedural and even diagnostic and prescription codes. We can start building
Yeah.
those lists. So that takes time. And then the second after the audience is creative, the messaging.
Yeah.
Like, what are you going to get out there? So you've got to build the creative itself. You've got to get that approved,
Yep.
usually.
Yeah. Internally. Yeah.
And then you have to think about, okay, now that they saw that creative, where are you going to send them?
Sure.
Probably a landing page somewhere, let's hope, right? And so maybe it's a generic product landing page, but hopefully maybe it's a little, if you're talking about conference, maybe a little more catered to what's happening at that conference and
Sure.
the different presentations that you have going on. Sometimes you have them in your booth, sometimes they're in a product theater for the conference, but there's different things that are happening. Maybe you have an event after that you want to get people to. So it's a good opportunity to build that out, but you got to think about it ahead of time.
Ahead of time. Yeah, absolutely. And I think just speaking from the video perspective, we've talked about it on the channel a few times in the past.
Yeah.
But likewise, we do obviously we think in a perfect world, if you were at a conference last year and you think you're going to be there next year, you should probably at least start making a plan for, based on past experiences, who do we think are the types of people we could get to do an interview for us? Because we know that sometimes that's the biggest challenge, is not just who's going to be available and committed to showing up, but what partners or customers do we have who are in a position where they're allowed to conduct an interview with us, do a stand-up talking at our booth during the show.
Yeah.
So, or, in an ancillary space, whatever that looks like. So I do tell people, I say like minimum for me, I try to get like a 3-month buffer from the conference. And that's just purely based on, and I know this is maybe not as applicable in the digital space, but for video, the biggest challenge we butt up against with conference strategy is just the approvals from the event host and trying to avoid guerrilla shooting that comes with a lot higher risks, both for our client making an investment that could not pay out, right? Like heaven forbid we go to a conference and we don't have all the proper approvals and security doesn't let us in with our gear, or you know
Yeah.
what I mean? And then they paid for us to be there to not be able to capture anything, right?
Yeah.
Or to have to, at the last minute, find an exterior space and get everyone coordinated
Yeah.
to that, which is a nightmare.
I've
So,
done that
right,
before.
no one wants that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think 3 months is typically good just from a like securities and approval standpoint for us.
Mhm.
And I almost feel like there isn't a too soon to start
Well,
planning.
seriously, so I mean, one of the things I was thinking about is a really good time to reflect on how you could do better at a conference is right after the conference,
Yeah.
the previous time or the previous year,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because I mean, most of us have attended or exhibited it at a conference, and right away at the conference they're saying, "Hey, are you going to sign up for next year? Here's your discount for getting a booth for signing up today for next year," right?
Yeah.
So you're already thinking about it. So it's a great opportunity afterward to reflect for yourself and your team, maybe what worked, what didn't work, what are some of the goals that we could achieve the next either conference or the next year, and start talking about that. Because if you're talking about, like you were saying, aligning KOLs, aligning maybe stakeholders and getting their approval, that comes way ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to need support and help, because it's not just the marketer. You're probably going to have some sales field team support as well to help identify, hey, who might this be? Who are you talking to that is elated and would be willing to
for sure,
talk.
to
And
make those
so
connections.
if you have that as a goal for a year ahead, you've got a much better chance of somebody saying, yeah, I'd be happy to sit down and talk to you on camera.
Yeah. I think a lot of marketers think from a perspective of I think there's a little hesitancy, right, about asking, especially clinicians, right? There's a hesitancy about asking them for their time. There's a hesitancy and fear about if I try to get on their calendar too far ahead of time, like obviously things can change, and it's like, well, that's okay. Like it's okay to have a plan, and then have flexibility and agility and be willing to adapt as you get closer, right? Like,
and I think what we've realized in this space too is doctors are kind of used to it.
Right.
It's not a taboo or even an unexpected. Some doctors would just have done enough of it, right, and kind of don't want to do it. But many of them, it's kind of flattery, right? and they want their name to be known, and they want to do great things in the space, and it's an opportunity for them to be a spokesperson or about what they're finding and what they're doing. Others will be perhaps a little bit more quiet about it, but there's a whole mechanism to make that happen. Sometimes you just have to ask.
Yeah. So I think next I want to talk a little bit about on the floor stuff, because we both have some experience in that space, right? We've been conducting video production on the floor, and it's interesting the kind of perspective that environment can give you when you're planning, and how you learn like the nuances of what you have to navigate ahead of time. So what do you feel like marketers who have been on the showroom floor, what do you think are some of the key things that they know and that they know how to navigate and get around, that marketers who haven't done conference event before or been there maybe don't have that insight?
Yeah. So one of them goes back to what we were just talking about, and it's planning. The more you plan ahead, the less surprises you're probably going to have, and the more prepared you're going to be for surprises that come up. I mean, I think you in the production world with our team does a really great job of moving and grooving to figure out, like, how do we, this situation just happened, someone's not on time, or whatever might come up, or hey, our president is here and he has 5 minutes or 10 minutes, like, can we
sneak him in?
Those things happen. But the more that you plan ahead, the more easy it is to adjust for that, because you're not having to deal with all the other stuff that you might have to juggle because you didn't plan, right? So I mean, I think that one probably goes without saying. I mean, the other one is, I think marketers underestimate how much could be delegated.
Mm-hmm.
Delegation is really important in that if you're putting it all on yourself, it's a lot on that day, and inevitably you're going to get pulled away because you want to have this conversation, or you finally get face-to-face time with this person that you were trying to get, or hey, maybe it's competition conquesting, right? Like you want to see
Sure.
what they're doing or go to a presentation so you're understanding what's out there and what others that you're trying to communicate with are hearing. And so delegating as much as you can, either to trusted partners, that's what we're there to do, right?
Sure. Yeah,
And I think
absolutely.
that's what we really strive for, is being able to
Right.
win over that trust, because we have that experience in doing it, so that they know, hey, I can put that on them, they can take care of
Mm.
it. Or maybe it's a team member on their team, right? That they can put some
Sure.
responsibility on, that can take it on, so that they're not having to do everything
Right.
themselves as much as possible.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's
No, for sure.
that's
I
my
mean,
insight.
if you're a marketer and you're already planning to attend the conference and then you decide, oh, I think I could make this video strategy happen. I think I can get enough KOLs to come in and record some content while I'm there, and I want to leverage that opportunity. I love that, right? Like,
Yeah,
obviously, we love
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah,
We think it's a great opportunity. It makes a lot of sense for most businesses in those environments for a variety of reasons. But I do think that one of the challenges that marketers, healthcare marketers, don't perceive ahead of time is you were already planning to be there. Maybe you have other commitments while you're there. Maybe you have a small team and they're all contributing to setting up and helping with setting up and tearing down the booth, and also being a point of contact for leads that are coming by your booth. So
right.
to expect yourself to do your regular job at a conference that is a very time sensitive, fast paced environment where you're constantly, meeting and reconnecting with either your existing clients or new prospects,
Mm-hmm.
or it is not an optimal space for you to then put yourself in a role where you're wearing a whole nother hat of, oh, I'm going to direct these videos, I'm going to conduct
Right.
these interviews, I'm going to,
Yeah.
I'm going to coordinate bringing in the SMEs that I have, right? Like,
Yep.
I'm going to talk to these clinicians, office managers and assistants, and coordinate their schedules. And that's a lot to put on yourself. As if that's not a one person job. It's
Yeah.
really just not,
Logistics
right?
alone is
Yeah.
difficult enough. Yeah.
Yeah. So I completely agree with you. I think that the underestimation of how much work it's going to be, and then I hate seeing the tragic burnout, like, you're mid event and they look like they haven't slept in days, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Luckily, I think most of the marketers we work with, they are troopers, right?
Yes. Oh, they
I mean,
fight through for sure.
boots on the ground, it is a marathon. Like
Yeah.
because you're getting up early, you're there at the conference, you're
Right.
making sure the presentation goes smooth, and it doesn't end there, right? Like there's
Yeah.
usually a conference cocktail hour, and maybe got somebody there, or maybe you're going to your own cocktail hour with somebody or your team. And then there's like post events that are going on too
Yeah.
after the conference, and there's sessions going on, and it's so much information and people
Yeah.
overload. Like some of these conferences, of course, it's
You know
huge.
that,
It's
of
small
course.
cities that descend for like ASCO. Like it's a big event, and so yeah, you can't underestimate that time.
That time.
Yeah.
Do you feel like, heading into the digital side of things, having had that experience on the ground in the showroom floor, are there things that you perceived in that environment or you picked up from going to conferences that have, changed the way that you look at digital strategy at all?
Interesting. So a couple things on digital strategy that I think have evolved over time, and this isn't just from my experience, this is just technology.
Right.
First of all, so the first is, it used to be very general. So we can do geofencing at a conference, and that technology to geofence and target based on like a mobile device that enters a particular fence around maybe the conference center,
Yeah.
that has been around for a while, almost as long as cell phones and marketing have come together, right? So the difference is it's still it's more specific than just targeting people in a city, but it's more specific to people that are at least in that conference building. But that's still, for the audience you're trying to reach, is probably still a little bit broad. So the difference today is that you can go from that more general to very specific, because we're able to layer on that NPI targeting and in the geofence, right?
Right.
And so that has gotten very specific. And beyond the targeting side is then you're also able to get the data back that tells you by name what provider saw your ad, what provider clicked on your ad. So it can be really interesting. And if you're running multiple messages, you can see which messages, which providers or types of specialties clicked on. And so it can really be almost a marketing research opportunity,
Yeah.
Which, is can be really useful. I think from my experience in being there, and I guess most of us have this experience, is we were talking about kind of the chaos and things that happen on the floor, right? So sometimes we run these geofence campaigns. Of course, we run it during the conference, but if you don't do the pre-conference, the impact is just not as strong. You've only got, what, 3, 4, 5 days maybe at the conference to say, hey, here we are, here's our brand, here's our product, here's our booth number. And they're so distracted doing other things. They're not on their phone as much or on their laptop like they normally would in their office or even at home.
Sure.
We do generally see a little bit of a spike after hours, right? Because they're winding down and they're just checking things, and maybe they get, they're going to check whatever on their phone and they're on their mobile device. But during the conference itself, it's really tough to reach them and to really get an impact. Probably the biggest impact I've seen in the marketing side is Twitter and using hashtags, actually.
Okay. You're talking like what you've seen to be most effective during the duration of the event.
Yeah, during the conference. Yeah, because a lot of providers do watch Twitter. And they'll follow the conference hashtag so that they can kind of keep up with the different events or announcements or presentations and things that are going on. Sometimes it gets a little bit noisy, but that is something that can really be leveraged. And again, something that you can plan ahead for and delegate to somebody to help to tweet the information out there. Sorry, it's X now, not Twitter. But
well, we all know what you mean.
But that is one thing I think on mobile devices when they're kind of watching what's happening at the conference. That is a platform that a lot of providers do watch.
I think so you've hit on geofencing and you kind of graced the subject a little bit, but I'm curious when it comes to geofencing, we've talked about like leveraging it in advance of the event to maximize your audience and participation at the event. But you have also mentioned that what marketers don't realize is that just because you're not attending an event doesn't mean you shouldn't have a presence at the event. Can you tell me a little bit about like what you mean by that? How can marketers take advantage of an event that maybe there's just not the budget there to be in attendance?
In person. Yeah. I mean, it's expensive to attend these, right? And to exhibit and be a part of them, for sure. It's an investment. And you want to get the most, if you are investing it, the most that you can out of it.
Yeah.
But if it is a core industry event or conference, and I mean, you can geo-target anywhere. I mean, in the consumer world, they're geofencing the competition's brick and mortar locations. So we're not talking about that, but we're talking about, at a conference, you don't have to be at the conference to market those people that are at the conference. And you can use that again for market research and garnish information about messaging, about the groups that are responding. Sometimes if you're more of a trailblazer in a space, you want to understand, okay, who are those early adopters that are kind of curious or want to know about, this cutting edge technology or test or diagnostic that's available. How do you whittle that down and find out who that might be? Well, this is a great way to do it because we can do very broad and just say, hey, just NPI related individuals that are in this geofence is who we want to target. And then I can provide the data to say, okay, here are all the named providers that clicked on your ad. It's kind of valuable information from a marketing standpoint. Then you can use that. At that point, it becomes first party data.
Right.
So you can use that to either direct market or to retarget.
Sure.
And you can use that on social media platforms and as well as, of course, in display targeting.
So what I'm hearing is kind of in terms of stages, it's almost like your pre-event, you're really trying to utilize digital to drive traffic, to participate and engage with you at the event. Then during the event, you're really collecting data. So this is really just, building up your market research and then understanding where do we go next? And then in your post strategy is where we then kind of start this filtration system of, okay, now we've got all this data, we know who we're talking to, let's use it strategically and really hone in on those individual targets and try to create some conversions.
Yeah, and where that data is a lot coming from is not just that 5 days or 3 days of the conference.
Sure.
It's so you have 30 days after they entered that space, and they meet our criteria to continue to remarket or retarget them. That's where a lot of the response and clicks come from, is that 30 days post. So that's where the data comes from. So yes, you're right. During the conference, you're going to capture them, and you are going to market to them, but it is limited, like the kind of response that you get. It's really the post 30 days following the conference, and then you're going to be able to take that data and use it for, market research or retargeting for those people.
Yeah. So obviously, I'm a video producer. I believe in video. I believe that you should just be using it all the time, everywhere, constantly, right?
Sure.
Like, I can think of a million ways that I think a marketer should be using video in their business. But I'm curious, from a digital perspective, in which cases do you feel like those two things work together really cohesively when you're building out those 3 phases of your marketing strategy from digital? Like, is there a place where video integrates or belongs in that? Why or why not?
Yeah, I think definitely the relationship is in marketing, right? Like, it's an opportunity to gather content in the video side. On the data and awareness side, that's where digital comes to play. So as far as like capturing video and then using it for ads or advertising, I think that content isn't well suited or as well suited to run an ad for, but it is really great content to utilize for education. And once you have them, their interests, and have them to your website or to a landing page so that they can learn more, that's where the video can be really impactful, right? Because now they're not just like taking a product slick or downloading a sheet or reading like a short snippet of testimonial of another provider, right? Like they're actually able to see a presentation, or they're able to see how an SME talks about how they utilize it or how they've applied it or what their experience has been. Or maybe it's a study update, right? And to be able to hear that in video format is so much richer than just reading it on the page. And we think about kind of that user experience as well. So as a marketer and as a digital marketer, like my job is to, curate the audience, get the message right for that audience, and get them to wherever we want to get them, right? But once they're there, you've got to have a good user experience. Where do they go from there? And we have that conversation sometimes with clients too, because it's like, hey, we're effectively getting them over there. Now what? What do I do now? And it's like, okay, well, what is that experience? What do you want to help them better understand so that then they feel comfortable reaching out and having further conversation?
I think that's interesting, because I do feel like a lot of healthcare marketers, unfortunately, like, get in a position where they're working in a silo and they're so dedicated to their one specific job inside of the business. And it is really such a collaborative effort to be effective. And so, to your point, like, it's working with graphic designers, it's working with web developers, it's working with your video strategy partners and your digital display partners, and it's hard to get all those people synced up in a room together, right? But there's also a lot of benefit when you can connect those people and then be more effective in your work together.
And you're generally aligned, right? Like you all want that same outcome.
Want the same thing,
you all want that. But to your point, it's difficult sometimes to get that. And sometimes there's reasons why that doesn't kind of work together or whatever. But the more you can have that open collaboration with your team, the better.
So it's okay if the answer is no. Again, this is just me thinking video because I love video. Do you feel like, from a display standpoint, with the way media and engagement is online today, that you're leveraging things like GIFs or animations, or like, what direction is display heading in terms of creative, or what have you seen as trends there?
So I mean, great lob. The answer is definitely not no. The answer is yes. I mean, there's so many creative ways that these ads can be put out there today, and it's in display alone, there are tons of different types of mediums that you can put out there, including video within the display ad, GIFs, as you mentioned, and animations, which is kind of just the basics. But then you can expand into rich media, which is interactive media. Like they're like mini websites that you can build basically within an ad and use it for things like survey information. So again, kind of market research information.
Okay.
Especially if it's highly targeted, so that audience is a target audience, so you can garnish that and elicit some kind of curiosity,
right?
Where it's you're asking a question and maybe they're intrigued by what the answer might be, so they engage with it, and then hopefully that leads to further engagement. So that's something. But then you also, outside of display, you have things like native. You've got streaming television now, and that can be highly targeted. Way better than mass media used to be, right? But it's a similar kind of medium that is very relatable to video and video content that you may have captured.
Yeah. I feel like the creative's becoming, it's not to say it wasn't important before, but I feel like as we're getting inundated with display, it becomes more relevant to put time and energy into how do we stand out with all the noise people are going to have on their phones. Especially, I wonder if for like clinicians leading up to event, like we're not the only ones doing MPI targeted advertising. So I can't help but wonder, okay, if you're a physician and you're coming up on this conference and you live in a certain area, are you just, your phone's just blowing up, right? Or you're just seeing a ton of ads everywhere. And then how do you make sure that you're standing out?
So I think it comes down to authenticity, honestly.
I love that.
And it's being authentic to who you are as a brand and as people. And sometimes we forget that in, I think when we're marketing a product. I think honestly, it's one of the reasons that I love what you do and what I used to do in the production world is that we met real people that have real experiences, right? Anything from like a patient experience and meeting patients and what it meant for their life and their loved ones, to a provider that's now able to offer a solution that they couldn't offer before, right? So for me, it's that authenticity. And in a world where, AI is a part of seemingly everything and more today, that is the limitation that AI has, is that it can only really produce based on what's been done before, right? And so it's really about creating something authentic to you. And maybe it is unique, and hopefully it is bespoke or new, right? That can be out there. And I think that's what can resonate.
I love that. Yeah. I think you're right. I think that we're heading into a time, and we see it on social media, right? I think it's even visible in the social transition to the popularization of things like TikTok, where it is more like individual creator, direct relationship building.
Yeah.
I think that it really tells us that the market's heading in a direction of, we want real connections and to feel less like we're being advertised to, but it doesn't mean you have to stop advertising, right?
Yeah. I mean, and relationships are real. I mean, you can talk about turnaround times of your lab or location of your laboratory and all that, and compete on these stats, right, with others. But honestly, it comes down to some of those relationships. I mean, I was talking to a client the other day of, they have a provider group that stays with another diagnostic lab because of the relationship. Not because it's necessarily better. I mean, we don't want to talk about that, but it happens, right? Relationships are real. And, even video and digital doesn't take the place of that. It still exists. But the more that you can be authentic to who you are and share that, and have people experience it, I think that's where you can win.
Yeah. You talked and touched on like post-conference, how video can play a role in that. I want to dive a little more into that, because something else we've discussed in the past is the feasibility and timeline of output from a conference, and like the expectations healthcare marketers head into for video execution at event, right? So I think we talked on this channel before about how a lot of healthcare marketers underestimate the certain challenges to executing video at an event like this. And while planning ahead definitely helps correct and adjust for a lot of that, where we see a lot of stumbling too is after the conference is done and we go back and we're working on the post, some of the expectation versus the reality of what it looks like in practice. So, you know, can you tell me you've been a producer as well. So in your experience, you know, what do you feel like is the typical expectation of timeline to pop content out following an event? And then what realistically happens and why?
So, I mean, I'll give you a little bit of kudos as well. I mean, it's something that we have I strive for, and you have carried that forward. And the team has all been, you know, a part of this timeliness is important, right? Like we do not want to hold on to it any longer than we have to, right? So from the post-production and video side, like we're turning that around as fast as we possibly can. And we have actually done it same day. I don't always recommend it, but hey, it can be done, right?
It can be done.
Absolutely can be done. In fact, I remember sitting in a conference and helping upload and edit and
kind of do
get
dailies,
that done. So it can absolutely be done. But that's not generally the holdup. And I guess I'm proud and glad that I don't feel like that I'm not the holdup, because I want to not be the bottleneck in that system. Right? Generally, what it is the stakeholder reviews that have to go through, because it's not just about usually just the marketer, right? Like there's somebody, whether it's a formal MLR review that needs to take place, or it's particular stakeholders, or it's, you know, the person that did the presentation that you're, you know, gracefully giving them the opportunity to review and approve before it gets posted out there. That all takes time, and it's difficult to force that. Because as we talked about before, everybody's busy. So I think that's what actually takes. And I feel like time.
There are things you can do that mitigate those issues, but at the same time, they come with their own consequences, right? Like you spoke earlier about how authenticity is becoming so relevant to the way we market today. I agree with that. And I do feel like scripting non-actors oftentimes takes away from authentic performance, right? And so giving a clinician a pre-approved script at a conference and being like, hey, just read this, or a member of your team, like, hey, just read this, or we're going to put this on a prompter at the booth and have you read it. In my experience, rarely does that work out to give you content that's good, you know, like great quality. Even if they're a really well-read person, even if they articulate well, I think that you can tell when it's a non-actor that they're reading something. You can tell that the words they're saying are marketing speak. I can't tell you how many times I have clinicians who get sassy with me on set when I didn't write the script, but they come to me and they're like, do I have to say this? And I'm like, well, it's what the client approved. And she's like, yeah, but they're medical liaisons or like they're marketers. Like, you know, and it's
I mean, it's similar to what we did today for this, right? Like we want to share what our thoughts and our experience are, right? And so it's good to have an outline and an idea of where you're going, right? Like you don't want to like just start
don't head
from
in blind.
nowhere. And I think the person that you're talking to probably appreciates that, right? And knowing that, okay, I can gather my thoughts, because what you don't want to have happen is not share something that you should have, right? And then later realize, oh, I should have said that, or you know, I should have thought of that. You know, and in the moment you didn't think about it. So it's important again to prepare, but to not necessarily follow the script 100% and to be authentic, because you never know what might come up.
And it is different. Like we understand, obviously, sometimes you're talking about scientific data, like a publication that just came out or a poster that you presented. And in those cases, we understand that they should really know to a T the specifics of what they're speaking to.
And sometimes those actually can be scripted. Like we have teleprompted those, I think. And that works sometimes, especially with individuals that maybe aren't as comfortable on camera, and where it's a little bit more cut and dry by nature, right? So if it's a scientific research paper that was done, and the study that was done, and how it was done, and what, you know, the outcomes and next, you know, steps of that study are, like that can be kind of structured, I think, a little bit.
Well, it's also like it's a different,
but it's a different viewer too, right?
Like you have to think a person who's,
and it's okay that it comes across that way.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Like a
Yeah.
person who's coming to something for a one-to-one need, like, oh, I have to know what was in this data so that I can determine how I'm going to apply this in my practice, is so different than we're posting these videos with some of our customers giving testimonies about our product, and we're hoping the right people see it and say, oh, I'm interested in that.
Right.
You know, with that, it's like they don't have to watch your content. You are trying to attract someone who you don't know for sure is going to commit to it. So it has to be super engaging and entertaining right off the bat. Right. You've got like 10 seconds to get someone committed to watching it all the way through. So in those cases, I will say a lot of times we encourage them not only not to script it, but like I'll honestly say, I think a marketer should know the path they're going to take in an interview, or if they're going to have a producer like myself or yourself like stand in and conduct an interview, we should know the path it's going to take. But also, one, we should be flexible with where the conversation goes.
Good go.
And then two, the clinician, honestly, I prefer if we can convince them to not worry about needing to know what they're going to get asked exactly. It allows them the opportunity to give real answers. Yeah. Some people, I totally understand that makes them nervous, right? But the great thing about pre-recorded media is that you have the opportunity to get things wrong, right? Yeah. And that's part of why we also commit to a certain minimum schedule for interviews, right? Like we try to get 30 minutes. We know it's hard on the showroom floor, right? Yeah. Like during conference is one of the hardest times to get an SME to commit to like being there for time. But if we can get minimum 30 minutes, I'd say a standard interview takes like 15 to 20 minutes, but 30 minutes so that there can be hiccups or they can come in a little late, which is, common. We say it all the time that clinicians are chronically late.
You have to plan for it.
Yeah, we have to plan for
it.
It's okay. So when we can do that, it gives them the opportunity to be a little bit more authentic and feel less, they don't script themselves.
And I will say, I mean, and again, kudos to you on the producer side. There is a skill to making them feel comfortable and having that conversation.
That's true.
And it's one of those great things that you can delegate to someone that has the experience of doing that. I think that's one point that I wanted to make, as well as another one is that because we don't have, as a producer, yourself as included, don't have a direct tie to the product and to that experience, we're okay asking those tough questions.
Yep.
Right?
We're so
and that's
biased.
okay. We can be the ones that are that third party that's gathering some of that real insight. Mm-hmm. And, we do have providers sometimes say, I don't want this on camera, but this is the truth. Like,
but this is the truth.
Right? Well, and in a good way, right? And,
but then that gets rolled over to
say, can I
like
say this,
your salespeople, or
it
gets rolled over to your customer service people, and it helps reshape the way that they're doing things as well. So
And those are those moments of authenticity, right? Like getting that, but it's an opportunity for them to open up and for us to ask tough questions that may be uncomfortable for a marketer to ask.
We've talked a lot about, I think, the digital side for conference strategy, and we talked about showroom floor stuff. Mm-hmm. I'd like to get into video execution post-event and the places and ways we recommend leveraging content, or the types of content you can collect that really pose the most long-term benefit. Because I think that our mentality around an event is this is a great opportunity where all of these different clinicians are converging in one spot, and you can maximize that to output content for hopefully months after the event in many ways. So you and I talked a little bit ahead of time about, I know we just mentioned timely turnaround content that's focused on conference. I think so often HCP marketers kind of limit themselves. Like they think, oh, this conference is coming up, I'm going to do videos about the conference and the data we release there. But we know that just because we're at this conference doesn't mean the audience knows or has to know that we're at this conference, right?
Yeah. And I think the conference content expires pretty quickly, right? Because the next conference is coming up or whatever, and it tends to date itself. But like you were saying, it's efficient. It's an opportunity because you've got lots of people that are all converging together.
Right.
Hopefully some of your KOLs or SMEs that are there capture content.
Yeah, I think that you have to be a little bit more strategic though, right, about how you execute on it. I mean, you've worked video production for conferences. What do you feel like are the versatile varieties of ways or types of content that people are capturing at conference?
So I think kind of the more evergreen, if you will, or like great content is when you do something that doesn't look like the conference. So you do something maybe offsite, maybe in a hospitality suite, and you invite those people in to have a sit down. So we've done what we've kind of termed a fireside chat. So very similar to this type of setup where you've got maybe a host that's, having a collaborative conversation between the two of them. The other one is more of an interview type situation where you're really just capturing the guest.
Yeah.
And it
like
can be
individual
anything.
testimony.
Yeah, so it can be a testimonial, but it can also, we've used it for educational moments too.
Sure.
Because, hey, it's learning about how this mechanism of action works or why it's different than the other one, or maybe, so
I've even had
it's a lot of different ways.
Yeah, I've even had clients who leverage the event from a recruiting standpoint as well, right? Like so much of their staff were converging at this one place in time, and they thought, well, we're a small business that's looking to expand, and we've got some funding to back us up, and we're ready to move to that next stage. We need to be bringing in the right talent. A ton of our key players are at this conference. Let's execute some recordings, get content, and start leveraging that into our hiring ad campaign and bringing in the right people.
Yeah.
I've also had, unfortunately, like those instances where you think you're going to get a lot of SMEs, right? Like, oh, we have tons of clients who are at this conference and we're going to ask them to come they're already meeting with us. They could take a few extra seconds, sit down in front of a camera and talk.
Right.
And they brush against the unexpected issue of, oh, my organization, my company, my entity I work for, they don't allow me to do testimonies, or I can't talk about, the company that I work for in the interview, and we know that brand, for a lot of companies has pull into them. That's like the grander appeal. So, I mean, one, I think that can be fixed obviously by the pre-planning that we talked about before is, hey, if you get ahead of it, if you vet it ahead of time, you're asking the right people, and you're maybe going through the approval processes with those clients of yours to ensure that you have the opportunity to do that with them. But also, when we don't give up just because something went wrong with getting the right amount of people, like in those instances, a lot of times we're like, hey, do you have people in your team, in your medical staff, or even on your sales team who we can pop in front of the camera and they can just talk a little bit about the products, the service, the offerings that you're trying to bring to your market, and that way you're getting something out of this time, and those pieces actually end up being, as you said, like evergreen. They can live on your website, on your social platforms, and they can be repurposed in so many ways and have versatility. I even think in booth, like, I do think people would hesitate on in booth. They think, oh, because it's obviously a conference, you know what I mean? They might feel like that only works for conference media. But if you have a booth space where if you put a lot of work and money into your booth and making it branded to you and have a nice aesthetic, why would you not want to have
it's
that?
A good backdrop.
You can use that as a backdrop.
yeah, absolutely. I think the other experience that I've had is having providers explain how they explain perhaps to patients how things work. I think that's kind of been interesting too. So as new mechanisms, new genetic connections, or even some of the reports that come out, we hear that from providers that they want to have an easy to understand report because it's shared with the patient as well as the provider. And so being able to hear how a provider has been able to explain some of that to patients and answer their questions can sometimes be really helpful and open up an opportunity for a provider that may not be as comfortable sharing that because they're just not familiar yet. And there's a lot that is put on these provider shoulders, right? Like they're expected to see a ton of patients. They stay on top of what the latest greatest is, and then they've got these new reports that are coming out from a test result that they're trying to interpret, and and they have to, they feel the pressure to help, hopefully a shared decision-making process with the patient, but
Sure.
generally the recommendation is going to come from them. And
Yeah.
so they want to feel prepared themselves. So it's another way, anyway, to kind of share some of that. And, I term it as education,
Yeah.
because that's what they're doing. They're learning how to vocalize, verbalize, and share that information at a patient level, even.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that can be really interesting.
I think there can be a lot of, we've talked about it on past episodes, actually, the kind of mutual benefit. Like when you're planning a video strategy, you do have to think about your business, but if you're asking your customer to come out and give a testimonial, we have talked about sit down and take consideration of what are ways my customer could use this. We have had providers who have reached out to a client of ours and said, hey, we are clinicians who have used your product in our practice for years. And they had a little, poll like in their market. And they said, we would love to talk about the applications of the product and how we're using it in like a kind of like a podcast format. Would you be interested in having doing something like that with us and having a copy? And the company was like, we love it. So, they kind of oversaw the process, but they pulled us in to do the execution of the production on it. And now they have a version of it that's branded that's for them, a version of it that's branded that's for the individual practices that these clinicians are at. And I think it was a good relationship builder, but it's also was a great opportunity for them to get, and it's long form, which we love because that you can chop it up into a billion pieces and use it so many ways. So that lasts, again, like months of content off of one individual recording session. So I think that there's so many ways to leverage the environment of conference. Like you said, whether that's in a meeting space or an ancillary event space, either at the conference or a little bit off-site.
Right.
Taking advantage of the booth that you put time and money and effort into to create environments for executing things really efficiently because you've already got the staff there, you've already got your clients there. And that just turns into a whole, docket of content that can be used cross-platform for months to come.
For a long time.
Yeah. Okay, so now I'm going to do some quick rapid-fire questions. We'll try and give the quickest answers we can. I know we're not very good at concise answers.
Do I get prizes for answering them correctly?
I mean, I could grab you a coffee or something.
Okay, perfect. That would be great.
Yeah, me too.
Afterward.
We're going to grab coffee after this either way. So I'm going to rapid fire through these. So is one camera enough for interviews?
Yeah, actually it is, because you
hot take.
I mean, my phone has a camera, right? Like that totally works. Does it capture? Absolutely. Does it have a place? Yes. Can it be better with more cameras? Yes. All right. That was my short, long answer.
I think my short, long answer is there's a right, it's kind of like there's a right time and place for everything, right?
Absolutely.
Like, so, it's just as a marketer determining which is the right one.
Everyone can be a videographer.
Yeah.
Everyone has a camera in their phone and has a phone. So
technically
they can do it.
Technically you can do it.
Yeah.
Do we advise it all the time?
Right.
Not necessarily.
Can a 12-year-old drive a car? Yep. Very well. I don't know. Yet to be seen.
Depends on the 12-year-old.
Hopefully no one else is around at the time.
Oh gosh.
Okay, sorry. Quick
okay. Can we just film whatever happens?
Well, yeah, we can.
Same answer.
It's kind of the same answer, but what kind of quality do you want, right?
Yeah.
And what are you really going to do with that content?
Yeah.
And I think we've
had
those
useful
situations.
Is how useful is it to you? Seeing all of your salespeople on the floor at your booth, just scurrying around and or even if they're there and it's a lull and no one's coming to the booth and then you're
then it's sad.
That's sad. You don't want that video.
And, I mean, we've had the situation where there was a booth that was so crowded they actually had a line to kind of get into the booth, and that was awesome to capture. But then what do you do with that capture, right? Internally, I think it's awesome to use. It's look at how interested people are in what we're doing. I think it can be a great rah-rah moment internally, but externally, you can post it on your social platform. I mean, I think that's fine. It's, timely, but
it's just you're paying for a crew to be there. Even if you're paying for an independent contractor, it's not high cost. It's
You can probably use your
you
phone.
want to have content that's gonna last
Yeah,
and
yeah,
is
yeah.
good.
Yep.
Okay,
What else you got?
we'll figure out editing after the event.
Oh, we've had that one before too. So, I mean, I think your team, the production team, does an amazing job. Adam, Nason, Trip, you know, our team does a really, really good job of trying to make the best of what we have.
Absolutely.
And whether it's a challenge at the event itself that didn't go as planned, or it's on the fly, like, let's just see what we can capture. We will absolutely do our best as a team to put something amazing together. But our vision doesn't always, and the production team's vision doesn't always align with what the customer wants, or even what the audience wants. I mean, we've been in this industry for a while, so we could try and guess.
Sure.
But alignment may not be there. And so at the end of the day, it's maybe not what you really want or need.
I think it's to your same point as all of these is really, you can do all these things. You can do that.
And we have done it.
And we have done it. You can do that.
But from experience.
But do you want to make money off of the content you're making? Like, do you want to have ROI? Do you want to create conversions? Do you want to be able to go to your leaders and say, I got value out of this strategy?
For sure.
Because this may not get you there.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Absolutely.
We don't need stakeholder approval until the video is done.
Nope, you don't. But is the video actually done if you don't have stakeholder approval?
No, that's the answer. No,
exactly.
It's not.
So I would recommend having those people aligned again on that vision.
Sure.
Where you're
Especially
going.
If you want to do like a rapid turnaround content from a conference, it's even good to say, like, send whatever that plan or mock-up is of what you're going to do to them ahead of time to be like, this is what we're doing. Do you like that? Does it, you know, just to make sure we're all synced up before we have to hit that inning.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, you bring in those stakeholders at the appropriate time, right? Like, you want to make sure that it is executing on your vision. Sure. Once you're into the, you know, post-production phase, you want to make sure that it's aligned with what you had envisioned before you share it with them. But you don't want to wait too long.
Yeah.
And hopefully you have a good relationship with that stakeholder, that if there's still some things that are being tweaked or that are going to be updated, then you can talk through that.
Yeah.
So that there isn't as many rounds of revisions going on as possible. But you definitely want to bring them in before you're like, yeah, this is ready to go. Yeah. Can you put your stamp of approval on it? Just to have the whole thing have to go back. So.
I feel like unless you're in a small business where you have a ton of autonomy and they trust and delegate to you to like make all of those decisions about your content, if you're going to have other people involved, and if you're going to have other people involved, if you're on like draft 3 or something and that nobody but you has seen it, like, to me, that's a little concerning.
And honestly, I don't know that it's even small or big. I mean, we've had smaller, more startup phase, later startup phase, create these videos, and you've got the CEO, you've got the CFO, you've got
decision by committee.
Right, you've got all these people involved, and they may or may not have an understanding or same vision of what that marketing product or content should be. And so, it can actually be more difficult, and maybe they don't trust the marketer as much because everyone wants to be a part of it. It's their thing.
Well,
right?
And that's even, you just said like maybe they don't trust the marketer, and I'm like, but you're right that it's not always that. Sometimes it is just they're excited, right? Like, who doesn't get excited about, especially if we film like C-suite people at events, like. Sometimes that's just fun for them to be a part of it and to like have their face be a part of the brand. And, you know, they obviously, if you're on camera, you want to see how that thing turned out, right? So it makes sense. Yeah. But get their word in sooner rather than later. The last thing you want is to have put hours into putting a video together, and then the CEO watches it and is like, oh, I hate how I look in that shirt. We can't use this video. You know? Event recap videos only matter for social. I feel like you could leverage it in
only
like
is
blogs.
A very qualifying word in there. I mean, I think event content does expire, as we talked about.
Sure.
And a really good place is social, because that's real time, like happening now, kind of more urgent. But as we talked about, the video doesn't have to just be around the event.
Yeah.
Just because you captured it at the event.
If it's an event recap, or if it's a piece of content that you made based on like a poster that was done there, I don't see why you can't use that on your website, like especially if you have blog content and leverage it as a paired piece of media to that.
Right.
Even if it comes out a little after
Later,
the event, like
yeah.
it doesn't hurt to say like, hey, did you
This is
know
what
we were
happened.
here this year?
Yeah.
We'd like to tell you the breakdown of
If you
what we
missed
went
it,
over.
here it is.
Yeah.
Here's the recap. Here's
Yeah.
the summarization. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
Okay, I think that
Sweet.
we're in a good spot to close it out. Do you want to close it out? Do you have any other like final last words to
So,
healthcare marketers who are doing conference?
So I think my last thoughts are, let's talk.
Yep.
We're strategists, right?
Yep, yep.
That's pretty basic, and it's not. Hopefully, we've conveyed a little bit of our authenticity through this,
Sure.
and that it's not obligatory. Like we don't have to move forward, but hey, we're always happy to have a conversation.
Yeah.
And we are constantly learning ourselves too. So I actually enjoy the conversation to learn more about what their the challenges in the marketplace are, or challenges even in the market space, being able to market and what they can say, what they can't say,
Yep.
and the stage that they're in. So let's talk. We can
Yeah.
strategize and talk about things. I mean, we're working with a customer right now that is pre-FDA approval,
Yeah.
expecting at some point, of course, to get to that approval. And they don't even have a sales team yet, because it doesn't really make sense to hire a sales team,
Sure.
but yet they're marketing.
Yep.
Right, and there is a place for marketing, and it's a dull roar. We're not blasting it out there, but
Yeah.
we're priming the pump a little bit, because this is awesome technology that is
Yeah.
going to make a difference in their space. So
We're preparing
let's
ourselves
have a
to
conversation,
like grow.
right?
Yeah.
And we're happy to have those. Enjoy having those conversations with the marketers. I think the other point that I wanted to make is that it doesn't have to just be about branding and response even in promotional marketing.
Okay.
It is also market research. It's information that you can utilize.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, well,
Thanks so
thank
much.
you so much.
Thank
okay.
you.
Thank you all for listening. We really appreciate you chiming in for this session. Go ahead and like and subscribe so that you continue to get this information. You got to turn on your notifications. You don't want to miss the next episode, trust me. And go back and take a look at some of our previous episodes, because we have tons of more content like this on our channel. So thank you again for watching.
And give us some feedback.
Yeah, please.
Tell us
tell
what
us
you
how
liked,
we did.
what you didn't like. I mean, I'm
Tell
okay
me
with
what
that.
you didn't like.
Yeah, I'm open. So,
Yeah, leave
that
us
would be great.
some comments. Let
Yeah.
us know what challenges you're facing as a marketer when it comes around conference, and we'll keep making more content like this to help answer some of those questions.
Yeah, if you find it useful, let's do more.
Yeah.
That's great. Cool. Do we want to invite the crew in and say hi? Do you guys want to come say?
Come,
Were
do
you?
like
Yeah.
an ending card.
We're all working together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're all here. We're all here.
We were here the
Watch
whole
all
time.
the rest of our stuff, right? Our channel's like popping off.
Our channel's popping up.
All right.
Invited?
Yeah.
I don't know what the highlight is. Use another camera crew. We're all still here.
Yeah.
Yeah.